So, welcome to another episode of Wellness Begins Within. I have the absolute pleasure of being here with the lovely Lesley Turner. Thank
Hi.
you. We had a little chat before, just catching
Yeah.
up. And I just wanted to read a little bit about Lesley's bio so you can know a little bit about her and what we might be chatting about today on our episode. So, Lesley Turner is a somatic and intuitive practitioner and the creator of the SEER method. This is a body based approach to pattern recognition and transformation. After 11 years as a naturopathic doctor, she left clinical medicine to follow what she actually knew to be true, that the body isn't just holding symptoms, it's actually holding stories. She works with women who are done trying to think their way out of patterns that live below the neck, helping them access the intelligence that's already there. And she's also the host of her own podcast, The Intuitive Drop, and she runs the Intuitive Circle, which is a monthly membership for women doing this intuitive and other work together. So, welcome, Lesley.
Thank you so much, Ash. It's nice to be here.
This is like a one-on-one cheering squad.
I'll take it.
The one thing I absolutely want to talk to you about is obviously the practice of somatics.
Mhm.
And I think it's kind of having a little bit of a heyday. It seems to be kind of a popular topic that people are starting to talk about, that the body actually is communicating in some way. So, what's your impression or your way of perceiving what somatics is?
So I got into somatics because I knew as a naturopath that other things were coming up as I was doing hands-on work on the body. And then that was kind of when I learned about the term somatics. I read it in a book and then it like pinged something, as it does intuitively in your brain. And so I researched it and soma means the body, and somatics is basically looking at the sensations that the body is holding. And sensations could mean a physical symptom, it could mean an image or a memory or a story or something. So as I was working on people's bodies, like physically my hands were on the body, I would do something called Bowen therapy, and it would bring up messages. It would bring up, the face of the mother or anger in certain areas. And I was like, okay, what is this? Now, fair enough, I did not trust that when it first came up, but I would say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Can you tell me more about this? And that's where the intuition piece comes in. But that's when I realized, wow, the body has all of this stored here, and we're not touching it with just talking about it. We're not getting into the felt sense of what's here because we're sticking to a story of why it could be there as opposed to just letting it be there.
Do you think there's one language? Like, do people's bodies always communicate in the same way?
Not in my experience. Everything is very different. Some people are very easy to read, even through a screen when I do virtual care. And it's like the body's like, hey, go here. Hey, go here. Talk about this. Talk about this. And other people are like,
Mm.
I don't feel anything. I'm
Mm.
not sure what this is. And that's fine. We can navigate that, but it's different for everybody.
So that's a really interesting point. So I might be under the impression that every time you go for body work or you go for a session, that the body is going to tell you something. And what if I'm in a state where I'm just not feeling anything? How do you kind of proceed, or how do you guide people through that experience?
Most people who have never done this work don't feel or hear anything. And so it's a matter of starting the conversation with the body. If the body hasn't felt safe enough to communicate with you, it's probably going to shut down that pathway.
Mm.
So we just trust that there is something happening without forcing it to show up loud and obnoxiously. Um, so I'll get them if they're sitting in front of me in my office. I'll say, "Okay, just stay here. Just stay here." And you're noticing. You're not trying to force a conversation that has never felt safe for the body to actually talk to you. You're just noticing and maybe even opening up, "Hey, body, I'm listening."
Mm,
I'm listening right now. And you're putting your hands on your chest or your belly to create that sense of comfort, that sense of warmth under your hands, that sense of, okay, I'm anchoring into the body right now. And for a lot of people, this is the very first time they've ever done this. Now, if someone's a little more open, they've done some meditation or even just on their own through YouTube or anything, they can usually feel a bit more on the first session, but sometimes it takes a while. And that's where my intuition comes in. I'm like,
mm,
this is where I'm seeing this. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And then they're
mm,
like, oh, yeah, I have had this shoulder issue forever. But in that moment, they're not connected to it. So it's fine. Like we're not trying to make up something that's not there, but we're also honoring that the body needs a little bit of time to create the safe dialogue. Most of the time, people have ignored,
mm,
buried, repressed
mm,
the listening to what the body wants to say because either it wasn't safe to do it,
mm,
they didn't trust it. They didn't have time to sit with it. So, life gets busy and they get become this like all in the head kind of person, attaching stories and meaning and going quick out of the sensation and into, well, that's because of this.
mm,
And I don't want you to go there. I don't want you to
mm,
attach meaning to it or make meaning out of it when it just wants to be heard.
mm. It's all almost like having the awareness that that is present is enough to help clear it, heal it, move it, shift it, right? Because as
Yeah.
that energy is just moving through the body, the person's basically acknowledging that that happened or that they had that experience, and they don't need to, like you said, hold on to the story around it.
That's right. When we attach to the story, it keeps it there. But
Mm,
when we feel what's here with just non-judgment, some compassion, a little bit of, okay, body, I hear you. You don't have to be weird about it, but
yeah.
just, okay, body, I
Or we
hear you.
can. We can
We
also be
can.
weird.
We love weird. We love woo. It has permission then to shift. And often when I'm getting people to kind of talk me through what they're feeling, there'll be a layer on top and it'll be, oh, yeah, I've got tension in my shoulder, for instance.
Mm,
Like, okay, sit with it, allow it to be there. Is there anything it's trying to say? Is there any
mm,
image attached to it? Color, texture? We describe it. Often it's like, oh, this feels like my mom, or oh, this feels like the time I said no, or, a memory
I
comes
fell
up
off my
where,
bike, or
yeah. And then you can even go deeper on that because it typically we kind of follow it as
Mhm.
far as it allow us to go. Now the body has to feel safe to do that. We're not digging and digging and digging. We're allowing it to show us. And sometimes all it can do that day is peel off the top layer.
Mm,
And that's fine.
mm,
And then the next time it's like, oh, I see what else is under there. That's
mhm.
cool. And we're seeing it again, not judging it, not like I thought I was over this
Yeah,
by
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Just, okay, very cool. That's the story that's being held in my low back. That's the story being held in my shoulder. And it's different for everybody.
Yeah, that I think that's the key part, right? Because some traditions, some modalities have this expectation that, one emotion lives in a particular organ system of the body. And I think you
Mhm.
and I know that it's like that's very rarely the case, right? You could have shame,
Yeah,
you could have worry, you could have anxiety anywhere in the body just because,
right,
the traditional philosophy might have said that it resides in a particular area of the body, but you found
right.
that not to be the case in your experience.
Not really. There's so much more nuance to it. And I know we all see the Instagram posts that say your low back is about this and your shoulders are about this. And we love a good Louise L. Hay quote. We all read that book. What is it? You can heal your life.
That's right.
Um, but there's so much more nuance to it. And I find when I work one-on-one with people that I get to see kind of how their body holds on to stress and trauma and stories. It doesn't even have to be a big traumatic event that occurred. It's just a story that you've been telling yourself and it's being held in the body. And once you see it and it can kind of move its way through, peel away enough layers, I guess, it resolves. And it's beautiful to watch because it happens in real time.
Mhm.
You watch people walk in the door with this heaviness, this like pain, this ache, this I can't, kind of attitude and walk out going, I don't feel any of that right now. How
Mm,
did that change so quickly? And I'm like, because your body was ready to release it.
mhm. And it felt safe enough to do that, right?
Right. Key.
Like the
Yeah.
component. Do you think people have misconceptions about this idea of intuitive work, like what it really entails, like both on your end and maybe on the client's end?
Um, Probably if you ask some family members of mine, they'd be like, "What the heck is wrong with her?"
Yeah, well,
So, I mean,
that's a whole podcast episode about
maybe.
families, right?
Right.
Their ability to like tune in and actually get what they need. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Um, sure, there's always misconceptions. There's always people for years were like, "Oh, you're so woo-woo." And I've now embraced it. I'm like, "Yes, I am. Thank you so much for noticing."
to you, I am.
Yes, you're saying that is a bad thing. I'm saying that is a really good thing.
So is
Um,
that that's a misconception itself, I guess, that intuitive necessarily has to equal woo woo.
well, what in the world does woo-woo even mean
Yeah.
these days? Who
God,
made that mean a bad thing? I don't know. I
that's
don't
right.
know. I'm sure
People
there
almost
are.
say it like apologetically, right? Like I'm a bit woo woo, and I'm like, well, what if we actually embraced it and we
Yes,
recognize that everybody is intuitive, and
everybody.
we're not
Yeah.
downplaying it? What if we just saw it as a superpower now? Like that's my goal.
That's just it. I do see it as like a superpower when you're combining it with the deeper emotional stuff that I can pull
Mhm.
out. It's
Mhm.
beautiful. But anybody could have these abilities. This
Yes.
is just, I've cultivated it. I've trusted it. I've honored it. Um, and that's a process in and of itself because I've always had it, as have
Mhm.
most of you. And it's whether you trust it or bury it, whether you follow it
Mhm.
or say you're making stuff up, because it's going to feel like your imagination until you start to hear what it truly sounds like.
Yeah, I like the analogy of like everybody can play basketball, but not everybody can play at the level of Michael Jordan.
Sure.
Like we've just cultivated the ability to be intuitive as part of
That's
our
right.
personal and our professional lives versus, just waiting for intuition to come to us, right? Those
Right.
rare moments, it's just part of our everyday. So it's easy to trust it when you've had so many hundreds of examples of proof, right?
Sure. Yeah. And anybody could do that.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I do shut it down
Oh,
pretty often. Like, I will not be open to the ethers when I'm
yeah.
walking into Walmart.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially not Walmart.
especially not Walmart, not in my town anyway. The other piece is like, I don't really like when I have my own kind of clinic space here, and that's where I do all of my one-on-ones, whether they're in person or virtual. And this is the space I have really honed, cultivated that awareness.
Mhm.
And I'm calling in my people, my guides, my spirit team, whatever, and I'm pulling cards and I'm writing messages and before each person comes in, and it's beautiful. But the second I leave this contained safe space and even walk to my own house, which is on my property,
Mhm.
um, it's dulled. Like I
Yeah.
purposely dull it. I don't want to be picking up stuff even from my husband or my son. Like it
Mhm.
just that's too overwhelming when I also have to do laundry and cook meals and clean the house. So, I can do this because it's a focused space
Yeah.
and it gets heightened and cultivated here.
So that's a way of like still having boundaries around this kind of work because that in itself is a skill, right? That you have to cultivate.
Absolutely. Because otherwise you'd be exhausted all the time. I actually feel when I've been open a little too long, I get headaches. That back of the neck tension,
Ah,
it wraps around and I'm like,
yeah.
oops. Okay.
I've been
Dial
in
it
this
back a
space
little
too
bit less.
long. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So
Hmm.
I want to talk about something that has probably come up with clients in the past, but are there ever times where the body lies? You ever have experiences where the body is not telling the truth, or maybe it's not telling the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Whole truth for sure.
Yeah.
Lies, no. So whole truth in the sense, it shows you well, as long as you get your own ego out of it,
Mhm.
it shows you what it wants you to see in that moment. Whether that's everything, no. For example, so I don't pretend to be a medium, but every once in a while something comes through. I had a client on the table and I said, so there's like an energy here that feels like they want to convey a message of some sort,
Mhm.
and her name
Mhm.
was Sylvia.
Mhm.
And I was like, is that familiar to you? And she's like, nope, nothing. And I'm like, Awesome.
What do I do with this?
All right. Well, let's put
I'll
that
just
on
leave
a
that
shelf
with
and
you.
we'll
Yeah.
come back later, I
Put that in your
suppose.
pocket. Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know anybody, like no one that has passed, no. And I'm like, could be just part of your team. I don't know. Like I'm not getting the full picture at this point.
Mhm.
She came in a couple months later and was like, I know who Sylvia is now.
Oh,
One of her training clients
oh,
had an aunt that just passed and her name was Sylvia. And
wow.
she knew she
Because they
could
were in a
like,
shared field. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay. God,
Yeah.
I
And
was
so
second guessing everything, of course. But
but in the moment, it's like, what is the body really telling us, right? There's like something that the client hasn't acknowledged that is just
yeah.
not, it's
Yeah.
one layer of their
Well,
healing.
and sometimes it's something the client doesn't want to acknowledge,
Ooh,
doesn't want to see about
ooh.
themselves or the pattern, or that that thing that happened with mom at age 7 is
Mm,
still impacting them. They're like, I don't remember anything like that. And fair enough, a lot of us have blocked
mm.
out
Yeah.
childhood
Mhm,
in a lot of ways. So when I'm like, something happened at, that 6 to 7 range, they're like, I don't know.
mhm,
Fair.
mhm,
And we don't have to really go to the specific time
mhm,
in order to clear what's here, or at least bring it to the surface. So a lot of it is trust that what is being said is accurate. And a lot of it is maybe this won't land till later.
mhm.
Um, and then some of it is you don't have to remember this. You don't have to dig up old traumas and wounds in order to heal what's
Mhm.
here,
It's
which is
almost like
neat.
it's the body is just really like putting up a red flag saying like, see me, hear me,
Hmm.
acknowledge
Yeah.
me. And once you're acknowledged, it's like the body can just do what it needs to do to shift that, move
Yep.
that.
The
Wow.
body does it, source does it. It's
Yeah.
it's a beautiful dance between everybody. And do we need to know exactly how it's working? No.
And that's mostly, I guess, because the body's communicating what may be, like you said, more suppressed, more hidden, more
Yeah,
subconscious, whereas the conscious part of us, this part of ourselves that we assume runs the show, and as it tends to run the show, it's not actually the one that has those memories or has that trauma. It's in the tissues, right? You've
that's
heard the
right.
expression like the issues in the tissues, right? I think that's
Yeah,
a common,
constant. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I was going to say we have so intrinsic and extrinsic memories. So
Mm,
the intrinsic are baked into our cells,
mm,
essentially. That's a weird way of putting it. But, it's in your nervous system, it's in your fascia, it's in your body. And they're not easily accessible by the mind, which is more
mm.
the extrinsic memories, the stuff we can recall
Oh,
from.
interesting.
So when you see it like that, you're not really supposed to remember the intrinsic stuff, and it'll come up when it's meant to. We suppress a lot of things if it's not safe in that moment or for years afterwards to actually see it.
So, like,
So,
intrinsic could be like when you're born, we wouldn't necessarily,
oh, absolutely.
yeah. So that would
Yeah.
be like an example for people. And then extrinsic would be like when I got married or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So like you'll have memories in your body from when you were in the womb,
Hmm.
but you're not going to
Oh,
remember them. You're not going to remember
just
them.
like mic drop.
But they can, if you're really doing some deep meditation, there's things that can come up,
Mhm.
but it's not necessary to actually heal it either.
Mm. Yeah, because we can't really control what the body does with the information once it's been heard,
Yeah.
right? We can't control that. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the principles or things that make the somatic work that you do unique to you?
Oh,
Sorry.
for God's sakes, love. Unique to me. Well, I think there's a lot of somatic practitioners or therapists out there, but they're maybe coming at it from a therapy background.
Yeah.
I'm coming at it from an intuitive background and a naturopathic background. So I can kind of like, if you have blood work you want to bring in, and I'll assess that for you.
Mhm.
I don't like doing it, but I can assess it for you.
If it's
And
relevant to the history or the case that you're
exactly,
working on. Yeah.
exactly. And I can see if there's like frank deficiencies in something.
Yeah.
If I'm like, you need some vitamin D, dude, like,
Yeah.
come on.
Vitamin
Or
D plus Bowen.
yeah, exactly. Like a lot can change with just those two things.
Yeah.
But then I also have a homeopathy background. So, using all the tools within my tool belt. But what I really like dropping into is the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So somatic work takes me, like the sensations take me into, okay, what is actually being held here as far as emotional
Mm.
depth goes?
Mm.
And when we can see, you have, say, a mother who is carrying the mental emotional load of the house and the climate of the house. And she's like, I'm just overwhelmed. So she comes in because she's overwhelmed. But really, underneath that layer, she's overwhelmed and she has like something going on in the low back.
Mm.
Underneath that is a layer of anger,
Mm.
a layer of deep resentment
Resentment, yeah.
for having to do all of the
Mm.
things because we've lived in a male-centered society that doesn't see the invisible labor that a mom will hold to care
Mhm.
for her kids and make all the
And
meals
husband.
and right, right. So, to get into the emotions and and for her to actually say, "Oh my God, I'm so mad right now." And I'm like, "All right, let's allow that to be there." And
Mhm.
even getting them to swear in the office
Mhm.
because it's safe to do so. I'm so effing angry. And getting her to kind of admit without putting words in her mouth, but
Mhm.
like to admit that that is there. And then you see underneath that there's a layer of grief.
Mm.
And so you just you follow it,
Mhm.
without it doesn't even need to be labeled, but to honor what's actually there emotionally can help to alleviate so much of that overwhelm that she came in with.
Mm. Yeah, and that's a perfect example of like how the emotions can be layered, right? You might think
Mhm.
it's the anger that's the most important. Oh no, maybe it's the resentment. No, 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 it's actually the grief underneath.
That's
The
right.
experience that I thought I would have being
Yeah.
a mother is very different from my lived experience. I saw this term the other day of what they call a single married mom.
Yeah.
The married mother who has either a no or a low effort husband, and they are just not pulling their weight. And mom is like, this is not what I expected when I
Yeah.
became a parent, right? And there's, of course, so many things. You and I are both moms. There's so
Yeah.
many things that come up when you're parents that it's like we could not have anticipated the
No.
reality of this and how that changes also as our kids are getting older, right? Because that also is a piece that we kind of have to play into. But yeah, I found that very interesting.
Well, and I think, we hear stories of the no effort dads and think, okay, well, we do have it better than that.
Yeah.
But the bar is so dang low
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it's not an equal partnership. And it's not, it's like
It's
their
invisible, like you
default,
said.
yeah, yeah, it's invisible. And their default setting is so minimal
Mm-hmm.
that they're not even aware of it
Hmm.
often.
I almost feel like the husbands need to be dragged in for sessions at the same time as the wives, right? It's like the wives are coming
Probably.
consciously, but the
Yes.
husband is the one that's like the piece, right? Like what's the emotional block keeping them in this place where they feel like something else is a bigger priority than their family, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I agree.
Even if
And
it's unconscious.
the funny thing is I only really work with moms and women because when I see them step into their confident, empowered self and ask for what she needs, things shift. Things shift both with the husband, or partner, but things also shift with the kids
Mm.
because she's not rescuing them because it feels uncomfortable in her to let
Mm.
them make mistakes, or
Mm.
she's not overprotective or over the helicopter
Controlling the
parent or what
schedule.
controlling. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
She can sit back and go, oh, that's not my thing
Yeah,
anymore,
that's right. That's a
and
mess. Let's clean it up.
that's
Meaning,
right.
I'm going to empower
So
you to clean up your own mess.
that's right. That's right. And I'm not just
Yeah,
going to do it for you because that
yeah.
makes me feel like I'm the people pleaser or the worthy because I'm more productive or worthy because I'm fixing things. Like once we
Mhm,
see those patterns, and that's all it is, I talk a lot about emotional patterns.
mhm,
Once we see the patterns that are running our everyday behavior and transmute those, that everyday behavior changes automatically. And so I work predominantly with moms because I see the ripple effect
mhm,
she has on everyone in her life, not only her immediate family, but her friend circles, the people, maybe her parents, and how she sets boundaries, how she holds space for herself first. And it's incredible to watch it happen.
Wow. It reminds me of like family constellations work, where it's like one thing in the family can then ripple down. And
Yeah.
I imagine probably in your work, you also deal with ancestral trauma,
Yeah.
generational healing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, how that plays out in your modality and your practice?
So can I nerd out for a second? So
Please do.
there's something
Yes.
called epigenetics, and I know you know what this is.
Yeah.
So epigenetics is the expression of our DNA. It's like the layer on top of the DNA that tells your DNA when to fire, essentially. And so what I'm noticing
Like
is
if I
that,
picture it like a breaker, maybe on an electrical panel, it's like the gene is
okay,
on, the gene is off. I don't know. I just had that visual. So
sure. Yeah, yeah. It turns it on, turns it off.
turns the G, yeah.
So you can watch from, your patterns or your mom's patterns growing up that there's maybe a survival mechanism at play, or there's people pleasing, or a pattern of some sort. And as the environment dictates that, the epigenetic changes will be that gene fires, that DNA sequence then fires to keep you in survival. But what's been seen now is that this also gets passed in the genes, in the DNA from previous ancestors.
Mm.
If they were in, let's keep it at survival mode. If they were in survival mode,
War.
war,
Mhm,
famine, poverty,
mhm,
and had to just do what needed to be done in that
mhm,
moment to survive,
mhm,
that gets flipped on in them and passed to you.
mm,
Even though you are safe in
mhm.
this moment, you are well fed, you have money, it's still there running in the background. So yeah, we have to look at it. And then because epigenetics is so cool, you get to turn that part off with
Mm.
recognized safety, with recognized stability, and it's beautiful when it does happen.
And do you find, I mean, I imagine that ancestors of your clients come in to assist with sessions. So sometimes that could reveal an information or message that they might not even be aware of.
Yeah. Doesn't happen very often, not lately anyway. It's mostly what is here for the person
Present.
like in front of me. But um I had someone who's also extremely intuitive in on the table in the session, and I was doing body work with her, and we both at the same time went, someone else is here.
Mm.
And it was her grandmother, like great
Wow.
grandmother, I think,
Wow.
who was a healer herself. And so her message to me and to the client was, I'm so glad you're doing this work now.
Mm.
I'm so glad Lesley can describe this to you
Mhm.
and you can receive it.
Mhm.
And it was beautiful because it was kind of confirmation for me.
Mhm.
And also for the client, it was like, I know I'm not doing this alone. I know
Yes.
I have my great grandmother here with me,
Mhm.
and maybe she wasn't safe at that time. I remember it being an immigrant thing.
Mhm.
Um, she wasn't safe at the time to do this work for herself, so she was so glad it was ending, like the cycles were
Yeah.
ending with
Yeah.
my client.
Just
Yeah.
like the cycle breaker.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Mostly I work with cycle breakers. That seems to be an ongoing theme is I am sick of this. I saw it in my mom. I saw it in my grandma.
Wow.
I am sick of this. I'm gonna do it. While also raising kids is not for the faint of heart
I
because
was
you
just,
are, yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Okay, I have a deeply personal question now.
Oh, Jesus. What?
I feel like you have the answer. I want to know, what has your own body taught you that your own training, all the training in the world, could not have taught you? Sorry.
Oh, goodness. Well, my own body speaks to me very regularly, mostly in pain. So I'll give you an example. Back when I became a naturopathic doctor, so we're going back a few years now. Um, Within 2 months, I had pain in my shoulder, my left shoulder, and my
Mm,
clavicle seemed to kind of stick up. And
mm.
I went for chiro, I went for physio, I got imaging done, I even did a corticosteroid shot, and I was in pain for well over a decade.
Wow.
Just not able to
Wow.
lay on that shoulder. It had very little strength. My range of motion was maybe 90 degrees instead of the full 180.
Wow.
And still, anyway, Within 2 weeks of dropping my naturopathic license, I had full range of motion again.
Oh, I just got chills.
Full range of motion.
Wow.
And I haven't had pain there. I've had it other
Mhm.
places, since then. And it's like, okay, I wasn't really ready to hear that though,
Mhm.
2 months after I got my license, because
Of
that is a
course.
hard freaking
Of
program.
course.
And you've just
Yeah,
spent all this money
of
and now you're
course.
trying to make,
Ready to go.
that's
Yeah, you're
right.
fired up. I'm
You're
going out
a
into the world hanging my shingle.
That's right. And you're stressed because, there's no guarantee of income after you've just spent $200,000 to do this.
Hmm.
So I thought it was more just the stress of starting a
Yeah.
business. And yet nothing touched it.
Wow.
Meditations, trying to go deep. And then I would kind of get an inkling this isn't your path. And
Mm.
I would ignore it because I'm like, no, I have spent too much money. I have devoted too
This is
much
the
time.
path.
This is blood, sweat, and tears, my
Yeah.
love. Like
Yeah.
this is too much. So once it was all said and done and the pain went away and I went, oh, okay, awesome. And that's really what kind of prompted
I was gonna say, yeah, did
this
that?
intense shift. I
Yeah.
mean, I knew I was going into somatics well before I dropped my license, but it's like I saw the immediate proof
Wow. And
that
it had to be
nothing,
in that way, otherwise you might have kind of just pushed it off to the side. Like if,
oh, for sure.
the pain had been present and maybe after, a couple weeks it just disappeared and you carried on your merry way and doing your naturopathic thing. But the fact that it took so long, so much effort, so
Yep.
many obstacles, challenges along the way, right? Because there's probably modalities that provided some level of relief, some percentage where it's like, oh, that feels 20% better today or
Right.
something. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe I'm
Yeah.
on the right track. And then it never fully resolved.
Well, and I always kind of blame myself. Oh, you're not athletic enough or you're not
Yeah.
strong enough. You need to do some. But the second
Mhm.
I would do shoulder exercises,
Mhm.
it would get worse. And I'm like, that can't be it, because
Yeah.
otherwise I'd start feeling better.
Yeah.
And I would go for, body work treatments in some capacity, and I'd be like, okay, it feels good for a day, and then it comes back, and when you're trained in all of the modalities,
Mhm.
traditional Chinese medicine and nutrition and body work, and you do look at it from multiple angles,
Mhm.
but I didn't have the awareness at the time of somatics.
Mhm.
And it took me kind of like having that seed planted and then
Mhm.
taking extra courses and going, ooh, there's something here. And then cultivating the intuition to go, oh, oh, I get it now. But that took well over a decade to
Yeah.
get there.
And that trust in your intuition too, right? So it's one thing to receive the message like, oh, maybe this isn't a line for me. I'm not
Yeah.
meant to continue down this path, but trusting enough to say like, no, there's something totally different that I need to be doing. Or not totally different, but adjacent different.
Yeah.
Different enough that it requires, really refreshing my identity and really going through a big
Oh,
soul change.
yeah. And that was one of the biggest pieces. Like for 11 years, I was called Dr. Les. And
Yeah.
to drop that title, the credentials, the patient base,
Yeah.
like I switched gears and no one came with me.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it was basically starting from scratch 11 years into
Yeah.
practice. Yeah.
And did you have your child at that point? Like how?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And I think that kind of sped the process up because, your values rewrite entirely after you have a kid.
Yeah.
And especially the kid at the beginning of a pandemic. And
Yeah.
then,
I mean,
everything comes,
the thought is like, if
you
not
know.
now, then when, right?
Yeah. So, and I had moved to a new town. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of like, I'm starting fresh anyway. Maybe this is, and it still took me a couple years to kind of get on board with my
Yeah.
own thoughts. Um, and it helps. Obviously, I'm privileged that I have a husband who can support us while I'm rebuilding a whole bunch of this. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a
Wow.
journey.
Any other stories you wanted to share about different messages or wisdom that your body has shared on your path to healing and growing physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually?
Um, I mean, just last night it felt like my my SEMs and the muscles more in my neck were just clenched and on fire.
Oh,
And even when I laid down and had all the resistance or the pressure taken off, they were still unable to relax. And I was like, okay, what is this? What's going on?
Mm.
And there was some pressure building up on me, even just last night. And I sent a text message and it alleviated this morning. And
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I'm feeling good today. So most of the time, and I'm going to say this to anybody who's listening, most of the time, something physical has an emotional or an energetic root cause. If
Mm.
it's this kind of, oh, suddenly I'm tight, suddenly I'm this, unless you've just gotten into a car accident, which is kind of another whole story, there's usually a deeper root cause than what you're thinking it is.
Mm.
Hmm.
Tell us the story about the car accident. I feel like that's a for some reason that's a
Well,
path we need to explore.
there's this thought, and people can argue with me on this one, that's fine, that even car accidents have an emotional and an energetic root
Oh, interesting. I
cause.
see what you're saying. Ah.
Meaning, maybe it does seem to come out of nowhere, but there's something in your body that's like, this is going to create the disruption I need, or
Mm.
this is going to allow me to rest
Mhm.
un
Mhm.
unapologetically or without judgment for a couple weeks because I will be injured, and that's exactly what I need to reset.
Maybe I
That's a
meet
harder one.
someone who's meant to, I mean, it's the same conversation around like soul lessons around chronic
Yeah,
disease, illness, right? That people have these, it's like what percentage was, preordained or part of our path, and what percentage is just as a function of us needing to shift and grow and move in our
exactly.
lives.
So that's part of it. I remember hearing one of my spiritual teachers saying, if you're causing an accident, there might be some anger
Mhm.
that's sitting in your body that needs to be expressed, and that was the only way your subconscious knew how to express it.
So if I
Um,
run into my ex's car, there might be an emotional.
there might be something there. And then the other part was,
Oops.
if you're in an accident but you didn't cause it,
Yeah.
it's that you felt that you deserve to be hit, kind of
Mm.
thing. And
Oh,
now
interesting.
this is going to bring up, like, a lot of people are like, I
Yeah.
was in a car accident and
Yeah.
I definitely didn't deserve to be hit. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's
it's
that
not
top
about
layer.
blame at all.
No, no,
At
no,
all.
no.
It's just
We're just
deepening
seeing
your
what's
own
there.
awareness.
That's right.
It's really just about like, well, what if? What if, right? Like, it's just kind of I think you're like me, like you like to have that like curiosity about things. So it's like,
Yes.
well, what if there was a deeper message behind this, right?
And I can say that by someone who just backed into her cleaning lady's car in December.
So this is really a personal story.
Yeah. And I mean, I talked about, the
That's
meaning
funny.
behind it and all of that stuff on my own podcast, so I won't get into it necessarily, but
Check that
um
episode out, which is
check that episode. I don't remember. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll take it.
cleaning lady. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
post it in the show notes.
But I remember immediately having a pattern come up of I suck,
Mm,
and or I wasn't looking, it's always my fault. And so there were
mm,
patterns that were
mm,
coming up that were very old, were still there, still stories about myself that needed to be seen. And
mm,
she was amazing. Like, don't get me wrong. There was no like, oh my God, it was all me bringing this up.
mhm,
And so I had to have that situation in order to see what's still being held in my body
mhm,
as negative stories or false stories about myself that didn't need to be there anymore. And it was a very
mhm.
rapid way of bringing them to the surface and kind of going, "Oh, I
Oh,
didn't know that was still there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay."
It's like there was a
Yeah.
deeper, a little kind of lingering bit that was still lying there, and it just
Yeah.
allowed you to just shift it, move it, and then
That's
you
right.
didn't have to do 12 sessions of talk therapy to get there.
That's right. 12, 200. Yeah.
Well, I figured since it was you, it was only 12, so
Maybe, maybe.
the rest of us
By
200.
the end of it, I'm telling the therapist, and how do you feel about
Yeah,
this? Because
that's right. That changes the dynamic just a little bit.
just tiny bit.
Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the best ways for people to work with you?
Sure. So I do one-on-one care, both virtual and in person. So anywhere around the world, if you want to dive into what is being held in your body. Now, you do have to have a little bit of openness to be able to access that. If you're all up in your head and pretty scared about it, maybe take some time. But I have other things. There's like you mentioned at the beginning, the intuitive circle. So that's a monthly membership that people can come for a Zoom kind of consult.
Mhm.
It's a group and it's kind of first come, first serve basis. You put in some questions, something you're stuck with, and I go in somatically and intuitively and see what's here.
Yay.
And then you can listen to the podcast, as we've talked about. If you're more interested in that, you can follow me on Instagram because I'm always posting some neat stuff there. And I have something for the parents. So it's called Parenting the Pattern.
Ooh.
So if a parent wants to come in and we do 4 sessions, and it's just getting to some of the patterns that are maybe showing up in parenting that you wish weren't.
Mm. Yeah, and I feel
Hmm.
like that's a good number of sessions to really like
Yeah.
you always think of like one session is great, but like multiple sessions really allows you to go deep and really kind of
Yeah.
excavate at a level that, we have probably not looked at our own self-awareness in a long time.
That's
So
right.
nice a package like that is always really fun to dive into.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to mention or share? Anything that's like you're
Um,
working on right now? Anything that's really
Um, I'm working on, we all have our wounding and stuff like that. So I'm working on visibility.
Ooh.
And this being on podcast is definitely part of it. But just know that if you're nervous to show up in this kind of way, that it's not you, it's a pattern within you. And having that 1 or 2 degree of separation can certainly help to shift and alleviate some of what's been running the show for decades.
Yay. And
Hmm.
what about any final messages you want to leave for people who are just kind of new to this work, who maybe haven't had a session yet, but know that they need a session?
Okay. Um, Please don't be hard on yourself.
Ooh.
Please don't immediately think you've done something wrong because you suddenly have pain or discomfort or tension or anger or whatever. Your body is so brilliant. Your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and heaping a whole pile of judgment or shame on top of what you're feeling is just going to complicate matters. So bring a lot of compassion. Oh, okay, interest, curiosity,
Mhm.
love to what you're feeling if you can, and that will help alleviate some of it. It'll shift and move through as opposed to staying stuck.
Mm. I feel like a little tear here
Oh,
for all the people who are just kind of coming to this and just having that, like you said, self-compassion really
yeah,
for part of this journey and like the courage that it takes to start doing this work and to show
that's
up and
right.
say like, hey, something's off. I don't know what it is. I'm going to kind of like dive in and just play around and have fun. Like I always think with intuitive messages, sometimes we take it so seriously. It's like it has to be done
Right.
a certain way and we need to do this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, what if we just approach it with the sense of play? Like what if we could picture, imagine, see, sense an ancestor,
Mm,
we're in a conversation and they're sharing messages about their own lived experience and how that's kind of filtered down the epigenetic family tree line. And it's like, wow, the wisdom that will come when we're just approach it with the sense of like play and like, let's see what happens, right?
that's right.
The
That's
expression
right.
of
I
like,
love that.
tried everything else. I might as well
Yeah.
try this,
Why
right?
not? Be open, play with it, see
Yeah.
what comes up. It can be so much fun. So much fun.
Well, I'll take your word for that. I know. Those of us with Capricorn in our charts perhaps are not so open to this
Dude, I'm
experience of
Capricorn rising and a Capricorn. You can't
trust me,
bullshit
I
me.
know. Learning to embrace our emotions is part of the
Oh,
journey, and I
yes,
love
I
that so
know.
much. I appreciate your time, your energy, your wisdom, most of all. And I think that's one thing that people will really find, especially on Instagram, because you post the most wise content. It's always like,
Thank
oh
you.
my goodness, like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, I feel like it's its own version of therapy, just being able to follow along with Lesley and everything that you're experiencing in your day-to-day life and what you're sharing with people. And I just love your Instagram account and
Thank
share
you.
it all the time. So hopefully you have a great day and everyone
Thanks.
benefits from this talk. And I feel like everybody is kind of shifting and moving as the energy goes itself. So
Well, thank you for having me. This was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, of course. And I will see you soon, I'm sure.